Excellent!
Hello everyone and welcome to Paul's Hardware. Today I'm going to be doing an unboxing and overview of this closed-loop liquid CPU cooler from Swiftech. This is the H220. So here's a closer look at the H220's retail box, and before I go over all the details here, I want to talk about what makes this CPU cooler special, because it's fairly special. It's fairly unique as the closed-loop CPU coolers go, and that's for a few different reasons. One is the construction. It's one of the only, actually probably the only closed-loop cooler at this time that has an actual copper finned radiator. You get higher end components in here. Swiftech has been in the business of making custom CPU cooling and liquid cooling components for quite some time. They've actually had an H2O series for a while as well, but this is probably their biggest foray into the market. And if you look at a lot of the other coolers that are out there, the H100 for example, quite a few of the other closed-loop coolers, whether you're talking about the ones from Zalman or from Antec, a lot of them are actually made by a couple OEMs in China, either Coolit or Acetec. Swiftech, on the other hand, is actually a manufacturer of a lot of the components themselves, so this is going to be a much different cooler than you will see than any of those other ones that are rebranded or slightly modified from the base Coolit or Acetec design, so that's pretty cool. The other thing is that this is not just meant to be a single closed-loop cooler, it's actually meant to be upgradable. So you have the option, because they've used some more standardized tubing, as well as giving you the option, for example, of having a fill port on it to actually get into this. And they've also put in a much stronger pump than you would actually need for just a simple single closed-loop cooler like this. And for that reason, the pump does run slightly louder, but you can turn it down and modify it because it's PWM controllable. But it does give you the option. For instance, at CES, they were demonstrating this cooling a CPU and two video cards. I don't remember which ones they were off the top of my head. I believe they were GTX 670s or something along those lines, but very strong pump included as well. Okay, enough of my talking. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the details on the box. Designed for low to inaudible operating noise with true enthusiast level thermal performance, novices and hardcore modders alike will love its plug-and-play installation as well as easy expandability to full-blown custom loop. That's in quotes. I guess that's a quote from the Swiftech design team. That's all I can presume by the way that's formatted, but anyway, still nice to say. Anyway, this is part of the H2O series. This is the H220 Compact Drive 2 CPU Cooler, Quiet Power Plug-and-Play Liquid Cooling System. There's a closer look at it, and you do get a 3-year manufacturer warranty from Swiftech for this device. When it comes to compatibility, we have pretty much every socket you could want this day and age, from Intel all the way back to LGA 775, 1155, 1156, 1366, and 2011. A good question about this, and I haven't confirmed, but socket 1150 is coming out from Intel soon. From my understanding, and please bear in mind this is preliminary, 1150 should have the same mounting solution as 1155 and 1156. That's what I've heard. It's too early to say for sure right now, but once that is out, this should drop right in. But please double check once everything's actually released. Still compatible as well with 1366 and 2011, so for the enthusiast platforms you're also set, and 2011 is particularly easy to install with that universal backplate. Also for AMD, you have AM2, AM3, and all of the derivative sockets thereof, so AM2 Plus and AM3 Plus, of course, as well as FM1, FM2, and all the way back to socket 939. Here are the box contents. Liquid cooling system. It comes pre-assembled and pre-filled with coolant ready to use. This is a dual 120mm radiator, so if you have a standard 240mm mount, which have become fairly standard these days, that's 2x120, it should fit. PWM control on both of the fans. Water block with the integrated pump, also PWM controllable on the pump itself, which is pretty nice. PWM signal splitter, 5/8 by 3/8 inch PVC tubing. So this is actual removable, replaceable tubing, 3/8 inch inner diameter. You'll also get pre-installed mounting screws for Intel LGA 1155, 1156, and 1366. You get spare mounting assembly for socket 2011 or AM2 or AM3 or any of the FM1 and FM2 sockets, any of the AMD sockets. You get thermal grease included as well as a quick start installation guide. Some more info on a panel on the opposite side. So these are actually Helix PWM fans rated at 16 to 33 decibels each. The Helix fans are very popular from Swiftech. They do a really good job. This particular unit is optimized for noise generation rather than maximum performance cooling. Of course, you can get that. If you do want extreme cooling, you might consider swapping these fans out with some that are more geared towards static pressure and airflow. But these will be running very, very quiet in your system. So even with a strong overclock, you should have a very silent system if you're going with this cooler. Substantially better thermal performance than high-end air coolers and or competing all-in-one liquid cooling systems. And finishing up with the retail box, over on this side we have some technical specifications in really, really tiny printing. I'm not sure if you guys can read that. I don't want to go over every single one because I've already spent a lot of time on the box. Finally, here are the more specific dimensions. Again, if you guys want to take a closer look, both width, height, and depth for all of those. So inside the box you have, pretty much, there it is. Again, it's pre-assembled for you out of the box. So here's the actual unit. Let me set that aside and check out additional accessories in here. So here's your H220 manual. Here is, this is actually a little fan splitter, PWM fan splitter. So you can use this to connect many fans to the same source, and powered by a Molex plug, PWM on that side to give you the just the PWM control. Power comes from that. Here's your included 1 gram of Swiftech Tim Mate thermal interface material. Some pretty serious AMD brackets. We have some additional I shouldn't say connectors, these are screws. I'm guessing these might be these LGA 2011 screw kit. You also have some washers right there and some smaller screws. You have some more screws. These are all separated out so you can tell what's what. And these are the long screws which are to actually mount additional fans. So if, right now it's set up to push and exhaust air, but if you do have additional fans you want to set up push-pull, those are the extra screws you would use for that. Now for a closer look at the H220 itself, we're going to start down here on the block/pump. So as you can see, it comes pre-installed. So right now for most Intel LGA sockets, this is already configured, or it's at least set up the way it should be installed. So your backplate's already there. What you would do to install is actually unscrew these, remove the backplate, use the adhesive to adhere the backplate to the back of your motherboard, then mount this on top after you did some thermal paste and whatnot, of course. It's got some piece of plastic over there to protect the surface right there and keep it free of oils from the skin and whatnot. And then we have a weighty pump that's on top of this. But as you can see, we actually already have some the clamp fittings here on the tubing. So this is 5/8 inch outer diameter, 3/8 inch inner diameter. So if you were going to add onto this, you would simply remove these screws right here. These are adjustable, of course. They can be turned or bent. Of course, you don't want to kink the tubing when you're actually setting it up, but that will allow you to set this up in multiple configurations. You have kind of a honeycomb pattern there on top of the pump, which gives it a pretty cool look. And that's pretty much a quick look at that. I did want to come back really quick to this PWM control unit right here, because I think there's a really nice little add-on that they've added. I noticed that there's a red one here. The red connector is actually the only one that will report your RPM settings. So if you're using this for your CPU, you definitely want to plug that in. Otherwise, your motherboard might think that your CPU fan isn't spinning. But then you have up to 8 PWM fans you can add on that. There's a bit of adhesive on the back so you can stick it on, or it comes with a couple mounting screws so you can mount it to your system. And like everything in here, it has a nicely braided cable. And now I'm moving on to the rad. And yeah, so fans are pre-installed. As you can see right there, they've actually used smaller screws that fit just underneath, like so. Your cables, they're actually tied on there. So they've wrapped the cables for the Helix fans around here. So as you can see, these are 4-pin PWM capable fans. They have white blades, which look pretty sweet. Here's your fill port, easily accessible. And then flipping it around to the back, trying my best not to kink the tubing, and we can see the radiator itself. So the radiator, you might not be able to tell just by looking at it, but I can tell by holding it that it's using copper fins in there, significantly heavier even negating the weight of the fans that's installed in there. Significantly heavier than any other radiator I've seen that's this thickness. It's about the same thickness still as an H100i, for example. But those copper fins in there are going to provide better heat transference and better performance overall. So again, you can install additional fans right there if you want to set up a push-pull configuration. And this is the radiator as well as the reservoir. So you can see there's an extra bit right here. One more time, just to another look at this side so you guys can see again, tubing here, flexible fittings on there. And again, you got your clamps that are attached, so you can remove this tubing from either side if it's, if you decide to add on to it, or if say 3 years down the line you wanted to give it a full clean out. But again, even if you are planning on using this and not actually expanding it or anything, all they are recommending you do is use some Swiftech coolant and fill it up via the fill port right there if you ever need to in the future. But again, should last for at least 3 years without that even being necessary. And that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Once again, this has been my unboxing and overview of the H220 from Swiftech. I do have an additional video planned for this particular product. I'm going to be doing a comparison between this and a Thermaltake Water 2.0 Extreme that's currently cooling the CPU in the system behind me. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.